I drive nights for a regional parcel carrier out of a depot in central Ohio. My shift starts at 10 and ends whenever the manifest runs dry, which in July means I watch the sun come up through the windshield. Most of the route is boring in the way you want a job to be boring. Loading docks, a pharmacy chute, a hospital bay that always smells like bleach and burned coffee. The last leg is residential, a subdivision out past the interstate called Kestrel Meadows. It was supposed to be 400 homes before the developer went under, and they finished maybe 60. The streets are all paved and named, with green signs on new poles, but most of them run between empty mud lots. There are streetlights the county never wired, so at 2 a.m. the place sits under poles holding up nothing but sky. The occupied houses cluster near the entrance, close to the model home with its dead flagpoles. Deeper in, its bare framing and house wrap, loose sheets of it breathing in and out where the staples let go. I got the route in March, when the regular driver took a transfer he never explained to anybody. The company gives us a handheld scanner that runs our manifests, and it wants a photo of every doorstep delivery. Proof the package arrived, time-stamped and geotagged, uploaded before you're back in the truck. Point tap done 100 times a night. The first week of April, a stop appeared at the bottom of my manifest that hadn't been there when I left the depot. 14 Ashfield Court, Kestrel Meadows. The county map doesn't have it, the GPS doesn't have it, and the scanner's own map put the pin in a grey square with no roads drawn on it. But the street is there. It's a stub of cul-de-sac at the far back of the development where the paving crews stopped, and the asphalt just ends in a lip above the mud. There's one house on it. One finished house at the end of the circle, siding and gutters and a brass number 14 in a part of the neighborhood where nothing else has walls. The porch light was on the first night. I remember wondering who pays that electric bill and who mails a package to a house the map won't admit to. The box was light, about the size of a toaster, with a printed label and no name on it, just the address. I set it on the mat, took the photo and left, and the whole stop took 40 seconds. After that, 14 Ashfield Court was on my manifest every night. Same kind of box, give or take. Some nights it was the size of a shoebox, and one night it was long and flat, like something you'd ship a mirror in. None of them rattled. For 2 weeks, it was just the last stop, 20 minutes from clocking out. Then a customer 3 streets over swore she never got her order, and I opened my delivery history to pull the proof photo. The history tab shows your photos in a grid, newest at the top. Every night at 14 Ashfield Court, I had photographed the same door. In the first photo, the door is shut. In the second, there's a dark seam along the frame, thin as a pencil line. In the third, the seam is wider. Photo by photo, night by night, the door hangs open a little more, an inch, then 2, like a stop-motion film someone was shooting 1 frame a day. I sat in the break room and scrolled that grid up and down for a long time. Because I stand on that porch every night, and every night the door is shut. Shut, dusty brass handle, weather stripping snug against the sill. The camera kept saying otherwise. The next night I checked before shooting, laned in close, and the door was closed the way a showroom door is closed. Then I lifted the scanner, and on the screen, the same door stood open 3 inches onto the dark. Over the top of the scanner, shut. Through the screen, open. The gap on the screen didn't move. It was simply there, patient, as if the door had been open all along and we were the ones pretending. I took the photo because the app doesn't let you skip it, and I drove back to the depot too fast. I asked around at the depot, quiet, the way you ask when you don't want the answer written down. Wendell has driven for the company 26 years and runs the rural loop now by his own request. When I said the words Ashfield Court, he set his coffee down and looked at the middle of my chest for a while. Then he gave me the rules, counting them off on 3 thick fingers. Don't ring the bell, not once, not to be polite, not even if the manifest tells you to. Take the picture blind, arm out, eyes on your boots, thumb finding the button on its own. And once it uploads, never open that photo again, because looking is a door too. I asked him what happens if you ring the bell. He said he didn't know, that he'd driven that loop 9 years without finding out, and that this was what he called retirement planning. Then he asked if I'd already looked at the pictures, and when I didn't answer, he nodded like a doctor hearing the symptom he'd been expecting. Keep to the rules, he said, and it mostly stays in the picture. I didn't ask what mostly meant. So that's how I ran the stop, April into May. Park at the lip of the asphalt, carry the box up, eyes down the whole way. Hold the scanner out sideways like a fencer, tap, wait for the chime, walk back at a normal speed. I cut a strip of cardboard and taped it over the top half of the screen, so the thumbnails couldn't ambush me. My delivery scores went up that month, which tells you something about what management can measure. The stop stayed quiet, mostly. Mostly is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Twice the porch light was off when I came around the circle, and both times it came back on while I walked, the way a light does when a hand inside finds the switch. The boxes got heavier through May. The long flat one came back, and when I lifted it, the weight shifted from one end to the other, slow, the way water moves, or the way something lying down turns over. One night in June, the cardboard strip had peeled at a corner, and the history grid flashed at me before I could look away. The newest thumbnail was mostly gap, a hand's width of dark, and low in that dark, at knee height, a paleness that wasn't a reflection of anything on the porch. I didn't zoom in. I want credit for that, I didn't zoom in. I pressed the cardboard flat and delivered blind for 3 more weeks, and I started sleeping with my hallway light on, which felt like a rule of my own. Then came the 3rd Thursday in June, and the flag on the manifest. Signature required, hand to recipient only. I sat at the mouth of the cul-de-sac and called the night dispatcher and heard her chewing while she pulled up the order. She said it was a 3rd and final attempt, and after a final attempt, the package doesn't come back on the truck. I told her I'd never attempted it once, that I'd delivered to that address every night for 3 months. She said that wasn't what her screen showed, and her screen and I have never agreed on anything. The porch was colder than the yard, which is not a thing porches are. The door in front of me was shut, the same shut it had always been, brass handle, snug weather stripping, dust. I did not ring the bell. I knocked twice, soft, the way you knock when you're hoping nobody's home. From somewhere deep in the house came a sound like furniture being dragged over carpet, a long, even drag that didn't pause and didn't hurry. Then the latch turned over, one clean metal note, and the door swung inward and stopped. It stopped at 3 inches and change, and I knew that width, because I'd spent a long night in the break room measuring it with my eyes, frame by frame. Cold came off the gap, and a smell like wet drywall and pond water. I kept my eyes on my boots. I held the box out toward the gap, and the weight of it left my hands, not pulled, just accepted. I held out the scanner with the signature screen up, and something I never heard take the stylus began to write, and the screen chimed when it finished. I was back inside the truck before I let myself breathe through my nose. The scanner said the stop was complete, signature on file. The signature was my name. Not printed, signed, in the same slack cursive I use on rental agreements, with the same dropped letter E I've been dropping since 4th grade. I put in for a route change the next morning and didn't give a reason, and nobody asked for one, which I noticed. They moved me to daylight, warehouse pickups, and retail docks, a route with no porches on it at all. For 3 weeks, it was the best job I've ever had. Then on a Sunday morning, my phone buzzed with the little chime the app makes when a proof photo finishes uploading. I hadn't worked the night before. The history tab showed a new photo at the top of the grid, time-stamped 3:10 in the morning, uploaded from my account. The geotag was my own address. It's a picture of my apartment door, taken from out in the hallway, level and steady, from where a person would stand to fit the delivery in the frame. There's no package in it. The door in the photo is open a crack, a dark seam along the frame, thin as a pencil line. There have been more since. I don't open them anymore. I follow Wendell's rules as well as I can in a building with a buzzer instead of a bell. I come in through the parking garage, and I keep my eyes on my shoes from the elevator to my own welcome mat. My door is always shut when I get there. I check the latch, and the latch holds, and the weather stripping sits snug against the sill. Some nights the phone buzzes on the nightstand at 3:10, and I lie still and let it. Whatever the newest photo shows, it can go on showing it to nobody. I've added one rule of my own, and I keep it the way you keep a promise to someone stronger than you. I don't photograph my own door. And if my thumb ever finds the button on its own, arm out, eyes down, I hope I remember which side of the picture I live on.